Hi everyone. As many of you know, ServiceNow is a powerful platform with wide range of workflows including IT, employee, customer experience, and etc. Often we extend these capabilities to align with our organization roadmap and requirements. While introducing new features to the platform is essential, and at the same time, maintaining the health of the platform is also equally important. Uh, of course, there's a plenty of content available that talks about platform maintenance, but in today's session, I'll try to focus more on my experience of keeping platform healthy with certain best practices, regular checks, and monitoring. Yeah. I'm Swapna Aburi. I'm a certified technical architect and an associate platform owner with over 12 years of experience in ServiceNow ecosystem. My expertise spans technical design and implementation of various ServiceNow applications, including application development and integrations. I'm working for Tata Consultancy Services from Canada, and it feels good to mention that I've been recognized as Community Rising Star from last 3 years. Moving on to our topic now, why is it important to maintain the health of the platform or do a regular monitoring? So, let's imagine we buy a brand new car. In the beginning, it runs very smoothly and perform really well. But over the time, if we skip regular servicing, if we don't wash it, or if we ignore basic checks, the car's performance will degrade and it may even break down. Same thing can happen with our instance as well. Just like, if you are introducing new features, the system may not be in a position to accept those new features or may not get compatible. Over the time, the technical debt will increase, data issues will start to come up, the performance will be impacted, and overall manageability of the platform become difficult. Just like our car requires a regular care and attention, our platform also requires regular attention to stay efficient and ready for future growth. In that context, first let me talk about Now Support. I hope many of you know about what is Now Support. Earlier, we used to call it as High Support. So, are we using Now Support only for logging cases and scheduling upgrades? But what we also do with Now Support is on a weekly cadence, we will verify the change calendar and also communications to understand what exactly ServiceNow is doing in our instances. If any change requires any downtime, we will be able to inform our stakeholders well in advance. Or if any of the change is causing any features impact to any of the features, we will be able to address and remediate them in the lower instances. Otherwise, we'll see that as a surprising thing in the production directly. Similarly, when we do license check every month, we'll also extract the database footprint from the Now Support to understand if there is any abnormal table growth. So that way, we will be able to identify if there is any root cause of having the table size increase. So we'll be able to fix it. Or if we have to work on data retention policies like archival and purging, we should be able to act on them. Sometimes, due to legal or audit concern, we may not be able to delete data from the instances because I have seen such kind of customers as well. For that, in that cases, if we keep monitoring it like on month-on basis or at least every quarter, we will be able to take any upfront decisions if we want to buy an additional storage as well. And if you are one of the impact users, we can also get this information from Instance Observer, which is angel.servicenow.com. So that will give us like a real time snapshot of the data, and not just Instance Observer will also give like some of the good metrics related to performance as well, which we can monitor. So these are some of the things that we do with Now Support, not just for logging cases and the other upgrades and these things. Then moving on to platform administration best practices. So these are some of the practices that we recommend to our stakeholders in general when it comes to cloning and upgrade. If it is always advisable to clone lower instances at least every quarter. So this way, whatever requirements we are developing or whatever um, testing that we do, right, unit testing or user acceptance testing we are doing in our lower instances, it's a kind of real copy, real replica of prod, near to production copy. So that way, after we deploy the code to prod, they are very less likely that we get issues from production instance. Even if you can't do it every quarter, at least doing it half yearly is really good, especially when it comes to cloning. Also, if I have multiple like subprod instances and if I have different cloning settings for my each of my target systems, it's a good practice that we configure cloning profiles and keep them. And also after every application implementation, for example, if I am implementing a new application or if I am doing any major implementation rollout, it's always advisable that we review this cloning procedure, understand if there are any modifications required for exclusion, preserve list, or any of the post clone scripts that needs to be executed because of this application implementation, so we can keep that cloning document or procedure up to date. Also when it comes to upgrade, whenever we do upgrades, like be it half yearly we do it or yearly we do, we have to look into the skip changes, especially the ones which are marked as P1 and P2. So this will give us an opportunity for us to review what was customized, and we will be able to take decision of merging it with out of the box, or maybe if we want to go with that customization due to business requirements, we can mark that as a retain as well. So these are certain things that we have to follow when it comes to cloning and upgrade. Then comes to user and group management. Creating a user and group is a very simple task, but when the user is no longer with the organization, or if the group is getting deactivated, we can't just simply come and deactivate that. If we do it, I think over the time we will encourage like more and more data issues coming up. So if a user is becoming inactive, the proper data ownership transfer should happen. So for that, what we have done is we created one custom flow action which checks if a user is inactive. It checks if the user has any like CMDB ownership, support groups, or if he has any knowledge catalog item ownership. So we, according to the process, we actually configured the flow to take care of that data ownership, and as well as if a group is getting deactivated, if the group is used for any of the uh, routing approvals, so and any of the CMDB support groups, we will be able to get the replacement group and update it. So these are some of the things that we do proactively. Even after doing all of that, we also have a dashboard related to users and group management with key details. For example, if there are any stale tasks that were left even after the group is deactivated, even after we do all these checks, at least looking at the dashboard, we will be able to address that reactively. Then coming to data management side. So as we all know, data is a fuel for digital transformation, any digital transformation that we do. So whatever data that we are ingesting into the system, we need to ensure that data has a data ownership, proper life cycle, and also periodic validation in place. Especially when it comes to foundation data, it's very important that we understand what systems involved, what is the source of that data, how that fields were mapped. So and documenting that information is very much important. And also when it comes to any data deletion jobs or data update jobs that I have, like table cleaners, any archival purging rules that I have, it's important that we review them periodically. So these are certain practices, there are so many actually, as a good administrator or a platform owner, that we'll have to follow, but these are some of the simple ones that I wanted to represent today. Then coming to monitoring the performance of the platform. So it's good that, if we identify any performance abnormalities, fixing them then and there is really good. Otherwise, one day we wake up knowing that, a system is slow or not responding. So this way, like, if the tools that are at our disposal, for example, system diagnostics, one of the module in service now, where it will provide good insights about health and maintenance of the platform. For example, one of the dashboards that we have in this module is called system events and job dashboard. So this will provide insights of the events that are getting processed and the scheduled jobs that are getting executed. So this way, if there are any multiple events are executing at the same time, so there is some underlying cause to it. There is some source because causing these multiple events to show up in the system, which are being stuck. So we would be able to fix that issue then and there. And even if the scheduled jobs, if they are running slow, we will have an opportunity to see and then maybe change the time when they will be executing during off business hours, or if there are any custom jobs, maybe we can look into optimizing that scripts as well. Then comes to transactions. So this is also another good place that we can look into it. There are like two different mainly we look into, like user transactions and background transactions. When it comes to user transactions, we will, when we sort by response time, we can identify the patterns. For example, same time every day it is happening that the response time is slow, or if it's happening for a one user ID, or if it's happening for one URL. So very recently we identified one issue with one URL transactions. So it's basically a custom portal page. uh, whoever is accessing it, the response is like greater than 5 seconds. That's what we have observed. And then further we went to that portal and page and then optimized that glide record queries, and we were able to fix that slowness issue. So these are some things we can do proactively, otherwise they will become like accumulated and then bring it as like a performance issue, and we may receive P1 P2 tickets. Similarly, like slow scripts also, if we have any custom scripts, transform scripts that we have looking at it, and if any code optimization is required, and if the script was not written following the best practices, so those can be optimized. Slow queries is also another thing. Any queries that were performed in the instance, if the same queries, similar queries, which took more than like I think certain period, will be shown up in this slow queries module, using which we can identify them. And also the good part is we have an option to enable the index suggestions as well from slow queries. So system can recommend index suggestions, and we can review again and create those indexes. And good part with this ISC index suggestion engine is it will also give us like a 14-day evaluation period, wherein we can review even after the index is created. We can review and see, before indexing what was the time response, and then after indexing, if it's promising we can keep it, otherwise we can remove that. So because we can't index everything, because that's going to cause other database queries, right? In impact to other database queries like operations like create and update. So it's better like we do indexing wherever is required. And also we monitor, like we can verify log files every day and see if it is like over 1 GB. If it's happening continuously especially, then it's time that we have to look back to our warning logs, error logs, and see if there are any repetitive logs coming from any sources. We can do that analysis and fix it and make the log size again below 1 GB. So these are certain performance related stuff that we do when it comes to performance monitoring. So moving on to the health scan part of it, there are a couple of things that we really pay attention to it. One is health scan report, which is generally provided by ServiceNow. And if you are an Impact user, I think this will be given to us in the Impact portal itself on a month-on-month basis. Otherwise, on demand also this can be requested. So generally, what they do is like they evaluate our platform, and if any of the best practices are violated from our configuration, so they will provide those findings in these five categories. So what we generally do is we will work on the existing configuration issues, and at the same time we'll also look in, like in the Impact we have an option to compare with the last month, and if there are any new findings, we will be able to identify those new findings and fix them then and there, so that we are not increasing the count of those new findings. Second one is instance scan, which is basically an inbuilt functionality. This is also one of the cool features that we have, which actually has the capability to scan the existing configuration and as well as new configuration. So there are some predefined checks. However, we also imported some of the pre checks from the GitHub repository as well. And personally, we use this instance scan. We inform our developers to use it during the update set promotion, like whenever they are done with their update set in the lower instance, they scan their update set, which checks again as these instance scan checks, and if there is any discrepancies identified, we will be able to fix it before promoting that code to another instance. So these are two areas that we generally pay attention to it. And also the last one about the some of the quick win opportunities, because I've seen some stakeholders where they take health score percentage, number of findings also as one of the KPIs. So if you are in that situation, these are some of the quick win opportunities, very very simple ones, where we don't need to pay a lot of attention, or a lot of impact analysis is not required, and they will be very simple to execute as well. I'll try to show them directly in my instance for these items. I think I have them. Okay. So one first thing is like about notifications. So if I have any notifications, custom notifications especially, I need to ensure that they are properly categorized. We can maybe make them as like if they are part of change management, IT service management, or they are related to major incident. So marking that notification category is good. This is also one of the findings. And second one is when it comes to update sets. So if I have generally, apart from default, if there are any other update sets, if I then group by the name, I will be able to see if there are any duplicate updates. So we can make sure that there are no duplicates and we can rename them. This is a second thing. And then if I have any reports which are like not of list type, but if they are published or made public, so those can be looked into as well. And then instead of public role, maybe you can give it to everyone. For example, if you want to give it to every logged in user, that kind of reports, so we can look into the existing reports module and can do that. Similarly, workflow versions. So this is basically showing up if any workflow in production is checked out for a long time. So we can see when it was checked out, and if it is there like that, we couldn't see whether we need it. We can see the changes and publish it, or we can delete that checked out version if we no longer need them. That's another one. Then comes to user preferences. So for example, I have this is a related list timing, so I'll show you here. So in the every user, they have a preference, especially the fulfillers. They have this like where they want to load the related list with the form, when the form is loading, or after the form loads, or on demand, right? So especially on demand is something that fulfiller has to click on load related list, which is also okay, which is actually the best option. But if we can't go with this option, at least the after the form loads is good. So this way, users will still have an option that they can set their preferences, but we can come to the user preferences and set that deferred option here for this particular user preference. This is another best practice that we have to follow. Then comes to some of the UI properties that we have. Yeah, I have this list itself here, right? So how many are showing up here? Up to 10 to 100. So this is all good, okay, because this is how out of the box it will show up. So if we have anything beyond 100, like if we keep 1000 rows per page, users, for example, if they select 1000 rows for one time, so every time whenever they come to list, they'll see that as a default, which is a overhead to the system. So in the UI properties, we can check items per page and see how many are we are restricting there. If it's more than 100, it's better to remove that. So these are some of the simple things that we could do. And also one more thing, like minimize logging in production, like whenever, as I mentioned, right, through updates and scanning, we'll be able to identify if there are any log statement, print statement, so we'll be able to remove them before they are migrated to the production environment. Similarly, for user experience, sometimes we have seen, like same field will be presented in two sections. So I'll show you an example as well. For example, I have creating a field, as an admin, I'm creating a field on any table. Like I created this escalation level. How I created is I created from a form layout. So when I create from a form layout, what happens is, by default, the field will be added automatically to the main section of the form. But my requirement is I want this field to be available on the some section subsections of the form. So I'm adding it here, but I'm not removing from the main section, so it gives a bad user experience. So that's where, whenever we have this kind of things, we can quickly check and then remove it. Where we want that field to be visible, we can display it. Also, when I have like two form layouts like this, right, two column layout, make sure that it's equally distributed. Otherwise, only one space has lot of data, another space has less columns. It doesn't look good from the user experience perspective. So these are certain things, some things, simple things that we can follow and even fix our existing configuration. So that will definitely improve the health score percentage. So that's it from my end. Any questions? I'll just stop sharing. Yeah, thanks everyone. Sorry, I think I'm a little 4 minutes. I took more. Thank you.